I'm very excited about the virtual opening of the Atlas of the Present, Collage and Photography Today. Now, briefly, this exhibition highlights the artists who are engaging with photography, not as fixed document per se, but as material, something to fragment, reassemble, question, and reimagine. Collage has always been a way to challenge how images behave. And in this moment of constant visual circulation and AI creeping into our lives and our world, collage feels especially relevant. Um, I'm happy to tell you that today we have three of the artists who are the top prize winners for the show. And we're going to give them the opportunity to show us and discuss their work. We'll be talking to, and they'll be sharing their ideas and process with us. Rebecca Dietrich, who will talk about her work called Liminal View. Mélina Bismuth, with her work Beyond Words, and Michael Cohen and his compelling work, Am I Next, will all be shared here. So to begin, Kevin's going to take us through a brief slideshow of the entire exhibition, and then we're going to move into conversations with the juror and curator of the show, Prais Chong, and then we'll get into it with the artists too. Wow, thank you. That was so inspiring. It's a beautiful show. And I'm popping back on to introduce the juror of the show, Paris Chong. And Paris is going to talk to us about the
Hi.
Hi, Paris.
Hi.
Um, so nice to be here with you.
Thank you
Um,
for having me.
I'd like to give the audience here a little idea of who you are. So I'm going to give a brief introduction, and then it'd be great if you could talk to us about the process. How very difficult, I think, to go through that selection of images and come up with three top winners. It's very
Very hard.
inspiring work.
It was hard.
Yeah. So let me tell them who you are if they're not familiar with you already. So Paris Chong is the gallery director of the Leica Gallery. It's a prestigious gallery in Los Angeles. She has over 2 decades of experience as a curator. She's represented galleries and artists, including and events, including Photo LA, Photo San Francisco, Paris Photo LA, the Palm Springs Photo Festival, where Paris, I think we met at the Palm Springs Festival one
We
year.
did? Oh, I
Yes,
missed the Palm Springs Festival.
I do
What?
too. That was a
I
great,
know.
great place to build community. And so again, we're fortunate to have the LACP for that. In addition to Palm Springs, you promote the Leica Gallery at the LA International shows, or Leica Gallery LA at international shows like Art Basel and Photo Paris in Arles, in Paris, and then you go to Oral, I know. You've also served as a respected and sought after portfolio reviewer for the IPA Photo Awards, Fresh Look, Photoville, and again at the Palm Springs Photo Festival. And you're also part of the ongoing Meet the Curator portfolio reviews for the Leica Academy. So you are busy. Thank you so much for taking time for
Yeah,
this.
no, I love doing it. I love working with the LACP. They're my buds.
So will you tell us about this process that you went through, please?
Yeah, I was really happy when the LACP asked me to do this because I have personally always loved collage. I used to collage all the time when I was a young girl, and I would make collages all over my bedroom walls. I love collage, so it was really I thought I was the perfect person to ask because I do really love it so much, and it's so nice for me because I work at Leica and a lot of the work I sell and show here, it's like a photography, and I see a lot of photography. So it was really nice to see something new and different, like mixed media and color, and just all these creative people doing this beautiful work. It was a really great experience, but it was a tough decision. And I did kind of go back and forth with the one, two, threes a lot, but I definitely was kind of set on my number one shot. But there were so many pictures I saw again in the honorable mentions that were almost in the top three. I just want you guys to know that there was some really, I just loved so many of the photos. It was hard, but beautiful work and well done, and congratulations to everybody.
Thanks, Paris. Thanks so much. I'm looking forward to going back and spending more time with the images individually because I think they have a lot to offer.
They
And I'm
do.
really curious to talk we're going to now talk with the three top winners, and then we
Fantastic.
can dive in a little deeper and talk about their inspiration, their work, how it came to be. So, Paris, if you'd like to add anything else, that'd be great. If
No,
not, I'm going to.
I really do want to say that everyone did a great job and that it's really, really important to do these kinds of competitions and get your work seen by professional people. You never know where it can lead, and just because somebody didn't get in the honorable mentions doesn't mean that you weren't really great or close. There was just too much good work. There was really, really hard, and don't give up. Just keep doing your art and keep getting your work seen. It's the best thing that you could do.
Great message. Thank you, Paris. I'm going to go ahead and introduce Michael C. Cohen, and he's going to show us his work and as I said, dive a little deeper here. So
Hi,
thank
Ron.
you.
Thank you very much.
Of course. Now I'm gonna go through your bio too, Michael.
Okay.
Okay. And if you have anything to add, let me know, and then I'm gonna let you bring up your work. I'll go away and you can talk about um, all the things that we're curious about, about what you're going to show us. So Michael C. Cohen, he was born and raised in the Boston area and now spends his time between the New England coast, the American West, and on a plane to some wonderful spot in our beautiful world. I mean, this is what I aspire to. So, bro, you're inspiring me already. While his images earn awards, grace gallery walls, and fine homes and residences and offices across the country, he shoots from his heart and for himself. In your own words, if I may quote you, sir,
Sure.
the bottom line is simple. I love to shoot. Whether it's around the corner, around the world, photographs are waiting to be made everywhere. The camera's remarkable introduction to the places I go and the people I meet, dissolving language barriers on the street, capturing the grandeur of nature, and freezing precious moments that would otherwise be lost forever. We move through the world so quickly that we miss the most miraculous things unfolding around us. The camera slows me down. It teaches me to observe, and when I'm lucky, I find myself in the right place at the right time to catch that sliver of a moment through the lens. For me, photography is a never-ending search for those slivers. It's beautiful.
Well, thank you.
So I'm gonna pop off here, and if you don't mind, show us your work and take us through your thinking about it.
Okay. I'm going to take you through the making of this image called Am I Next? So last Saturday was Valentine's Day. And for most of us, that's a celebration of love. But for many, February 14th is a day that they wish had never happened. That day, the Boston Globe interviewed a 16-year-old high school junior. And she said a huge problem is that a lot of kids feel like we don't have the ability to speak. We can't vote. We can't say that much in school. What opportunities do we actually have? So when one presents itself, I think that we have to take advantage of it. So said this 16-year-old. So I want to tell you about how this piece came together because there were 8 years of distance between when I pressed the shutter and when I finally understood what these images needed to become. When I photographed the rally back in 2018, I was moved by what I saw. Young people, many of them teenagers, holding handmade signs with messages ranging from hopeful to angry to heartbreaking. I ended up with these 20 or so photographs that day, trying to capture the emotions, the faces, the angst, the vulnerability, the honesty, the frustration, the determination, the defiance, the exhaustion, the resolve, the urgency, the solidarity, the fear, the hope, the weariness, the courage, the resilience, the desperation, the conviction, the righteous anger, the quiet strength, the collective grief, the fierce determination, and the innocence lost, the burden they carry, the act of showing up and demanding change. I shared a few of these images on social media at the time, and then, like so many images we make, they went into my archive. Well, several months ago, I was going through some older work, and I came across these images again. And something had shifted. Maybe it was me. 8 years older, 8 years of watching this issue persist, watching another generation grow up under the same shadow. I looked at these photographs with new eyes, and I kept asking myself, I felt so much collective energy that day. How do I harness that now? The individual images were so powerful. I thought, but how could I put them together to make the message even stronger? And then this final image, the one that has stayed with me since that day, the small, innocent young girl contemplating her own possible death by the bullet of a gun that she drew with her own hand. And that's when it hit me. What if I literally shaped their images into the threat itself? What if I took all that peaceful protest and I formed it into the silhouette of a handgun? So I created this photo mosaic. Every tile is one of my original photographs from that 2018 rally. And when you stand close, you see the individuals, the hand-lettered signs, the determined faces, the democratic act of assembly. But then step back, and those same images form the weapon that necessitated their gathering in the first place. The gun becomes constructed from their own resistance to it. For me, this piece is also a response to where we are right now with image making. In an era of AI-generated images, I wanted to return to something fundamental. Real photographs, real people, real stakes, real time passing, and unfortunately, a crisis that hasn't gone away. The technique then became its own metaphor. Gun violence isn't one event. It's thousands of individual tragedies that collectively create this overwhelming shadow. Each photograph represents a voice, a story, a person who demanded change, yet together they form the shape of what they were fighting against. And 8 years later, we're still fighting. I want to thank the LA Center of Photography for this really wonderful honor. Thank you to the incredible Prais Chung for selecting the work. And Prais, I wish I could tell you I shot these images on my M10 monochrome, but this is before I had it. And finally, to everyone viewing this webcast, it is the dream of every artist to have an audience for their work. So thank you all so much for viewing the photos and hearing the story.
Wow.
It's pretty cool.
Michael.
Yeah, that was a wow.
Yeah, so powerful and so strong. And I have questions for you, but I think we're going to save them to the end and let the audience chime in. But thank you for sharing that very powerful work and showing us how it comes together.
Can I just throw this
Yeah,
in
of
there
course.
quickly? I have to. Because when I did the jurying, they didn't tell me whose photo it was, and I didn't see anyone's names, and I didn't really have the backstory. I was kind of just going on the images. I had a little bit of information, but hearing you explain that that was what it was about and the date and the time, and I knew it was about the gun control situation. This makes me even more thrilled that I chose your photo because it is really a beautiful photo, and I am so proud of you for doing something so meaningful and powerful, and I just couldn't love that photo enough. You did a really great job, Michael. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Prais. Okay, I'm out.
Well, and Michael, it just has so much resonance too. I'd like to see this. Everyone should see your. I feel like everyone should see your this collage and hear what you just told us. I think it could really help people understand, drive things home, what's really happening. So thank you. We'll come back with questions. So I'd like to introduce you now to our second artist, Mélina Bismuth. Mélina is a French artist born in Libreville, Gabon. She moved to France at the age of 8. She currently lives and works in Biarritz in south of France. I believe it's about 10 o'clock at night there, 9:30, 10, correct?
Yes.
Mélina. I'll tell the audience here a little more about you, and then I'll let you share your work and talk to us about that. Okay. Um, so Mélina spent the first half of her career in creative and product development within the textile and luxury industries after graduating from the EDHEC Business School in France and earning an MBA from the University of Notre Dame in Indiana. She worked for 5 years at the DMC, specializing in embroidery threads, embroidery threads, and then 10 years in high jewelry at Chaumont and Fred, two LVMH maisons, located on the Place Vendôme in Paris. A refined sensitivity to color and a mastery of composition have been a consistent thread throughout her professional journey, shaping and enriching her artistic vision, I should say. She began exploring photography, a little history here, in 2005, first studying analog techniques in a studio and darkroom in Paris. And between 2017 and 2020, she furthered her practice through photography courses at the École Supérieure des Beaux-Arts de Nantes, Saint-Nazaire. Forgive my pronunciation there, mispronunciation. She quickly began creating photo-based collages, which led to her first solo exhibition in 2022. She's presented 4 solo exhibitions as part of the Festival of Arles during the Rencontre de la Photographie there every summer. It's usually in July, I believe. She's also participated in approximately 10 group exhibitions in the French Basque Country, not so far from Biarritz, and in Paris. She's currently pursuing studies in visual arts at the Panthéon La Sorbonne University in Paris through distance learning. So, Mélina, we're delighted to meet you virtually here, and we're excited to see your work and have you talk to us about it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for welcoming me and for inviting me. Thank you for your selection and your audience. So let's share this presentation. Okay. So thank you to the whole team at ACP for inviting me today, and thank you, Prais, for your selection. So let's talk about this collage, Beyond Words. It's made of almost 1,400 photographs. It took me more than 2 years to complete it, and we will see why. It has been exhibited in several occasions in France, once in Tokyo, and I'm very happy that today it reaches an audience in LA. So just a word of context, it's part of the Rebuild series. And at the heart of this project were scaffoldings, very omnipresent, very essential for the regeneration of the city, and for me, very meaningful. And I compare them to a wrapped monument by Christo and Jean-Claude. When I observe them, I really look at their presence and beauty. I refer to the title of the exhibition, which is a personal atlas, because over the last 8 years, I've been assembling my own personal atlas, sampling all the cities I've traveled, shooting scaffoldings everywhere in many places in France and in Spain, and later on in Northern Europe, in Tokyo and Kyoto and Los Angeles. And these pictures collected really are memories of my itineraries. My practice of collage is a 2-step process. First, deconstruction. As I shoot, I fragment the object, and then a reconstruction is the collage itself. I capture what's unique in any scaffolding, so I pay close attention to what usually goes unnoticed, and these are examples of fragments and colors that I capture. And over time, they just got enriched in nuances. So now let's go back to that work Beyond Words. So these are some of the sites where I took the pictures between 2017 and 2022 in France and Spain. And these are these fragments which are actual fragments, part of a collage. So I focus on the fragile surfaces, on marks of time and damage, tears, dust, holes. The better part of the time, I like this marks of time and experience. And sometimes, on the contrary, the fabric is precious as a draped fabric, for instance. Let's move to the collage itself. The reconstruction, I refer to it as a kintsugi, which is assembling the broken parts of a ceramic with golden lacquer. The object is enriched by the experience of having been broken. And when I bring together the fragments of the scaffolding, these fragments which have flows, I really aim at bringing harmony, bringing some unity. And my assembling goes beyond the individual vulnerabilities and individualities. All these fragilities together make the whole vibrating. So here are the steps of how I do that. So I start with a rough sketch, and then I bring on a digital page all the pictures one by one. And it took me 2 years to complete it. Of course, I did other collage at the same time, and I needed to do breaks. But the whole thing is that anytime I would go in the street and find relevant scaffolding, I would take more pictures and I would bring them back to the artwork, changing, completing, refining over time. And so I did this process over 2 years and a half, and I just stopped it once I committed to exhibit it. So that was last scaffolding for just before print. So the whole process is deeply personal because it's my eyes, it's my camera, of course, it's my my wanderings, it's my memories, and it's also my hand moving all these pieces to get close to each other, and also my patience to do so. This sort of artwork beyond words, belongs what I call the landscapes, because throughout these artworks, I stretch space and time to create new spaces. So let's see some more so you understand my perspective. So that is the first artwork of the Rebuild series. It all started with this picture in Madrid in 2017. And I did the first sketch at École des Beaux-Arts de Nantes in 2019. And again, it was the initial, just the starting point of the process. So when in 2021, I first traveled to Barcelona and found yellow scaffoldings, I just corrected the whole yellow zone. So this artwork refined also over time. Backfire is made of very thin fragments. It's a very textile, close-up type of artwork. And I will share how my digital page looks like. So I bring together among 2,000 fragments in order to select the 1,000 that will be useful. And it will start with a sketch, as you see here. I interpret it with very thin strips of pictures. So beyond scaffoldings, I would also take pictures of, for the blank series, of windows of closed doors. When they're closed to hide from the view, they would paint the windows with a white chalk or blanc de meudon. And these are the types of fragments also I collect. And this is the first artwork. Fade out lines brings together many of these windows, for instance. I also, with the Both Sides Now series, take pictures of the sky, but it's never a direct view. I would take pictures of the sky in clouds through grids, veils, networks of electric wires, or I would take reflections of the clouds, of the windows, or of a car body, for instance. And out of this material, I did this installation last summer during the festival of des Rencontres d'Art de la Photographie. So I brought these fragments together and printed plexiglass tiles. Here I created the artwork directly on site. I just validated principles, but I assembled them without having a very specific scheme. So we've seen what I call landscapes. So now let's move to portraits. Portraits for me is when I picture one object, one subject, and my references are cubism, like Picasso or Braque, also the joiner by Hockney, like this chair, for instance. It's about capturing different angles in order to bring the essence of the object. Here's an example of the glass roof with empty field. Miracle Mai was shot in Los Angeles in La Brea and sketched to the Lacma, hence his name. It's 5 pictures. How it happens, I took pictures of this scaffolding in Paris with a plastic sheeting, and I came at 2 moments of to have different daylights. For this Hôtel Noir series, I entered the construction site, and there was a majestic staircase covered with a huge black plastic cover on the floor. And I came on the construction site 3 times every 2 months in order to capture the deterioration of the floor with the dust and the footprints of the workers. Keep It Together is an artwork I started in Valencia. And I really paid attention to very, very thin detail on the textile. There was a thread in blue weaved, and I captured the light going through this blue thread. And I made actual pictures on a plank of board, because it's important for me also not to do only a digital collage, but also to glue, paste, do many different things. So it's an example. So now I'd like to share some perspectives about my other works. First is about still photography, because I usually take pictures with the intention to use them in a collage, and I didn't really consider my photos individually. But I increasingly enjoy doing standalone pictures like this series, for instance, and shooting with an intention. I think also will affect future materials for further collages also. So I might also revisit my archives to look at them differently. Another perspective is that I practice more and more drawing and painting, and also I think it brings new perspectives and opens the field for the collages, opens techniques and possibilities. And one last thing I'd like to share is that now I intend to scale my collages to huge sizes, and this is a project I've been working on. And because what I'd like to do is to bring all these fragments that I've taken in the street, in the city, once assembled into an artwork, I would like to bring them back to the streets, ideally on the scaffolding or in a mural. And so I just started a long-term project now, and here are some mock-ups of what I consider doing. So as the next stages unfold, I will share on Instagram. Thank you for your attention.
Mélina, it's fabulous. Thank you. So interesting. All I can think about, the collage, the idea of construction, deconstruction, reconstruction seems to be a theme for you, but they're so beautiful. And I want to ask questions later about your history, your work in fashion, and how it affects your work, if you don't mind, because I see such an elegance to your process looks really rigorous, but the results are so elegant. So I'm very interested in hearing more. And I wish we had more time, but I think we need to start to move on and then come back with questions. Is that all right, Mélina?
Yeah, I just
Yes.
wanted to also say congratulations, Mélina, and it's so nice to see you again after meeting you in Arles and in France. And I just think your work is the epitome of collage, and you did take some really deconstructed stuff and make it look really artistic and beautiful. And congratulations.
Thank you first.
So, Mélina, thank you. We'll come back to you with questions in a few minutes. I want to introduce, I think a lot of us here are on our lunch hours for this, so we want to introduce Rebecca and them. But thank you so much. Gorgeous work. All right. So I'd like to introduce you to Rebecca Dietrich at this point. Rebecca is a photographer and poet from Ocean City, New Jersey. I understand she might be joining us today from Atlantic City, New Jersey. And her photography has been featured in Welter, Seaside Gothic, Third Street Review, and elsewhere. She's a member of the Neuss Museum of Art, where two of her photographs were featured in the Homegrown Expressions Art Members Unveiled exhibition. Rebecca holds a BA in psychology from Stockton University and is currently pursuing an MFA in creative writing at the Institute of American Indian Arts. You can follow her on Instagram. Maybe we should all share, all of you can share your Instagrams later. And Rebecca, if you'd like to show us your work for the show and talk about it, we'd all be delighted.
Okay. Thank you for that introduction, Ron, and thank you all for coming today. So I like to use collage and overlaying not just as a visual effect, but also as a way to capture memory, landscape, and emotion. I'm really drawn to spaces that feel transitional or maybe even unresolved. It's not liminality for me. It's not just about like location, like it's also psychological. It's about being that sense of being suspended between belonging and distance. So you can see some of my photos here. Most of these images start out as just straightforward photographs, but then I rework them to reflect how places are actually remembered. They're often fragmented, overlapping, and emotionally charged. And with these photographs in specific, when I think of where I live, New Jersey, there's two things I think of. I think of the shore, the ocean, the beach, the seagulls, and I also think of the state park near where I grew up, where I would spend my childhood looking for the Jersey Devil. So when you put these memories together, you get something like this. I'm also interested in how places are actually experienced and remembered. Places aren't static, they're constantly changing. And I see my work, these are not just fixed photographs, fixed images, but these are accumulations of my experiences. For example, I'll take photographs of a certain location from different angles or at different times, and I'll try to overlap them to just preserve that memory that I have of that place. And rather than seeing buildings and structures as an interruption on nature, I'm interested in where they can overlap. They're not competing against each other, and they have the state of coexistence. I also want my subjects to feel embedded within their environments. We're shaped by our environments, we're absorbed by them, just like how our identities are often shaped through place, history, and experience. When I think of Morocco, I think of the oranges and the trees, and I think of all the color, everything was colored blue, so many deep blues. And so I found these photographs that combined all the blues that I saw and the oranges, and I was able to figure out how to make them coexist in a way that doesn't look like they're competing for each other. And that's my Instagram and my contact information. If anyone has any questions or wants to reach out to me later.
That
Rebecca,
was smart to put that at the end of your presentation. We should have everyone do that. Congratulations. I loved that photo. And like I said, it was a tough decision. I really want one of those photos to put in my bedroom. And I understand you're also a poet.
Yes.
That's so great. Have you ever thought of doing a poetry book with your art?
I've been thinking about it. I'm just trying to figure out how to overlap them.
I think it would be so pretty. That's when I saw, because when I found out who you were and who won, I Googled you and I saw that you write poetry, which I think is so amazing. And I really love poetry books with photography. I think that might be your next thing you need to work on.
I'll definitely look into it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
yes, Rebecca, one thing that as you're going through your collages, I couldn't help, like the Moroccan scene with the oranges and the blue. I, I, I swear my sense of smell was coming to life. I was imagining what that must smell like there. So I guess that's another poetic aspect to your work. But I was fascinated by that. It's just the smell of it comes through with the, they say memory is really driven by smell sometimes. So yeah, remarkable, beautiful work. So thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I think we should open it up to questions. And I have one from the audience. If you all have a question for us please put it. You'll notice at the bottom there's a little space for Q&A. And I have one for Mélina from someone joining us, a gent called George Kraus. And George asks, Mélina, I have an Enzo tattoo on my shoulder. How did you come to choose that image in your photo?
If you want the true story, I didn't choose it, it chose me because I started drawing an ellipse. And at first it was an ellipse with a blue zone inside. And I spent a lot of time doing the blue zone. And then one day, like a few months later, I just woke up and say, what is this blue zone in here? So I just throw it away. And I started just advancing, completing the ellipse. And I found the shape awkward. And over days and days, it would start to be just coming around. I say, oh, it's almost round. Let's change the shape to make it rounder now. And actually, it's really at the end of the process, having these pictures, zooming and zoom out to refine things that say, I just realized at the end, after the Enso. And it was fascinating to me because I said the art of Enso, that you have to draw this stroke of painting in one shot, just in one brief. And it took me 3 years to complete this. And so just doing that, such a weird, very detailed artwork. So it was by chance I ended up doing an Enso. It was almost a meditative process for me. It was a very long process to go through this art, and it was.
Bravo! Wow, George, I hope you got the answer you're looking for. Very interesting. Let's open it up. If anyone has any other questions for any of the artists, please put it into the chat. And I have a few that I'd like to mention. Okay, I want to go back to Michael. And Michael, if you wouldn't mind, your work again is just so powerful and resonant. And as you say, sometimes you're out doing this work in the field. You're at a rally, an anti-gun rally, and it's heartbreaking, and you see the people. But then those pictures, even if they go around the world, they're distributed somehow or on social media, then they go back into the files, right?
I know.
So, and this idea of slivers to me that you talk about is so interesting. It's almost like, if you don't mind, I just have, the question is really about when you saw the image of the young lady with that sign that said, "Am I next?" Was that a 4 a.m. kind of awakening for you? You're like, oh, I need to make something of this? Or was it something that, like, it seems like almost like a Bresson's decisive moment. You know, you caught this. Does that make sense? I'm just curious how
Yeah, so
how it came back to you.
the rally was so powerful, and what made it even more so, and maybe this comes through in the pictures, or maybe it's just in my imagination, but I talked to almost everybody that I photographed, both before I took their pictures and after. And this little girl, I mean, I don't think she was more than 10, was so poignant in the way she spoke to me about why she was there, and she was there with her mom, and her mom was off camera, but she made that sign herself, and she drew that gun herself, and the thing that just got me, and it never left me for 8 years, is why is a 10-year-old beautiful little girl ever drawing a picture of a gun that might contain a bullet to end her life? And you know, the emotion that I felt on that day sort of really made me upset later, because then, you know, as you say, these pictures, they get circulated a little bit and then they end up on a hard drive. And you know, it really was sort of an epiphany for me a few months ago. And it was actually inspired by a picture that I saw during COVID that I saved on my desktop. It was a picture of a medical person wearing a mask that was a composite photo mosaic of a whole bunch of doctors and nurses. And I ran into that picture again about 4 months ago, and it's sort of like the whole thing sort of clicked together.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, so it's such a yeah, poignant image, and I think people are going to really be struck by it. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Um,
Thank you.
have you done other collages, or
This is the first one I've ever done.
so this one? I'd love to see this on the road. You know, it's so important, as Paris mentioned before, to show the work. So I'm glad you're showing it here. But
Yeah.
I think I'm a magazine person. I spent many years as a magazine editor, a photo editor, and this is an image or collage. When you see it on the board when we're laying out the magazine, or we would always say this image has legs.
I
So
actually struggle with this a little bit because I do want to get it printed, but I think it needs to be printed about 8 or 10 feet wide, because you need to be able to experience it close and you need to be able to experience it far, because you want to be able to see the individual images that are contained within it. So I'm not sure what the right format is, you know, whether it should be on a wall in an interior, or a billboard, or what. I'm not really sure yet. I've actually reached out to a couple of gun violence nonprofits to see if they're interested in doing something with it.
great.
You know, I knew it would be a controversial choice to put the gun in, because I was like, oh, I don't know. People think, oh God, she chose a picture of a gun, but especially being a mother, I thought it was so, and this message that it's about, and your presentation, it was so important that this photo was in this, and I'm glad it was in the top 3, and I love the story, and I love the message, and it's important. I don't even think they make those guns anymore, right? Or they banned those guns.
Oh, they make them all.
They banned the guns. Wait, are those guns banned
No,
in
no,
LA?
they make them all the time. I don't know if they've banned them in
No.
LA, but
I think they're banned somewhere. Anyway, so I think it was just so great, and you should print it out. You know, the only thing I must say about this exhibit is that I'm sad it's not going to be a live exhibit somewhere that we could see the photographs, you know, because that would have been a really cool show.
Well, Paris, maybe you'll help me get this put somewhere.
Yes, we'll talk.
Okay.
I'm certainly willing to help too. So keep me in mind. Guys, any other questions? I'm looking at the Q&A. I think I see, let's see. I think they're mostly thank yous. I think some people might be dropping off, but all of you artists, I commend you. I really do. And I'm so pleased to be here today. Thank you for having me. Thanks, Prais,
Thank you.
Mélina, Michael, Rebecca, for your generosity and insight. Thank you for the LACP for creating a space for this conversation. So important. What stands out to me is how Collage here really continues to expand photography's vocabulary. And by not abandoning the medium, but by pushing it to reconsider how your images carry that memory and identity and meaning, I think make it just elevates things. So to everyone who joined us, we appreciate your time and your questions, and I encourage you all to spend more time with the exhibition online and to share it with your friends and fellow photography lovers.